The crystal towers of New Harmony reached toward the twin suns of Kepler 4, for 2b, their surfaces glowing with soft blue light. In the floating gardens between the towers, the Vidians tended their crops with gentle care. Their tall, thin bodies moved like dancers as they worked, their translucent skin shimmering in the sunlight. 4 arms each, they could handle multiple tasks at once, always with the same peaceful grace. Zara-9 stood on the highest platform of the central spire, her eyes fixed on the dark spot, growing larger in the sky. Her people called her Elder. Though she was only middle-aged by Vidian standards, the bioelectric crown on her head pulsed with worried energy, sending waves of concern to every Vidian within range. The dark spot was not a cloud. It was a ship. A massive, ugly ship with sharp edges and weapon ports. Behind it came more ships, dozens of them, blotting out the stars like a swarm of metal insects. Jin-7. The youngest of the scouts climbed up to join her elder. Her skin flickered with the rapid color changes that showed fear. Elder Zara-9, the quantum sensors show 47 ships. They are armed with plasma cannons and particle beams. Zara-9's 4 hands trembled as she touched the communication crystal. Her voice carried to every Vidian on the planet through their shared bioelectric field. My children, we face a great trial. The Corach Empire has found us. Across New Harmony, work stopped. In the crystal mines, the workers set down their tools. The doctors looked up from their patients. In the learning halls, the young ones pressed close to their teachers. All of them knew what the Corach Empire meant. They had heard the stories from refugee ships that sometimes passed through their system. The Corach took worlds. They took people. They made slaves of entire species and worked them until they died. Then they moved on to the next world. Zara-9 activated the main communication array. The massive crystal at the heart of New Harmony began to glow brighter. Soon, a hologram appeared above the platform. It showed a creature that made Jin-7 step backward in shock. The Corach Admiral was twice the height of a Vidian, with thick gray scales and eyes like black stones. His mouth was full of sharp teeth, and his claws could tear through metal. Behind him stood dozens of similar creatures, all wearing armor and carrying weapons. I am Admiral Vexkarn of the Corach Empire, the creature said in a voice like grinding rocks. This world now belongs to us. We will surrender all technology and prepare for transport to the work camps. You have 1 planetary cycle to comply. Any resistance will result in the destruction of your cities and the death of your people. The hologram faded. Silence fell over New Harmony like a heavy blanket. Jin-7 looked around at her people. The Vidians had never known war. Their world had no predators, no dangerous weather, no diseases. They had spent thousands of years learning to grow things, to heal things, to build beautiful cities that floated in harmony with nature. They knew nothing about fighting. What do we do, Elder? Jin-7 asked. Zara-9 closed her eyes and reached out with her mind, feeling the fear of millions of her people. They were gentle beings. They had never hurt anything in their entire history. Had no weapons, no soldiers, no concept of violence. Pray, she said finally. Within the hour, every Vidian on the planet had gathered in the crystal squares of their cities. They joined hands and minds, creating a network of bioelectric energy that spanned the entire world. At the center of it all, Zara-9 stood before the great beacon, quantum device their ancestors had built to send messages across the galaxy. The beacon had never been used for anything but celebration and art. It could transmit thoughts and emotions across vast distances, sharing their culture with any species that might be listening. Now, Zara-9 hoped it might serve a different purpose. She placed her 4 hands on the control crystals and opened her mind to the cosmos. To any who hear this message, she began, her thoughts flowing through the beacon and out into space. We are the Vidians of New Harmony. We are a peaceful people who have never known war. The Corach Empire comes to destroy us and make us slaves. We have no weapons, no soldiers, no way to defend ourselves. Her voice grew stronger as millions of Vidians added their energy to the prayer. We call out to the wise and powerful species. of the galaxy, please, if there is any mercy in the universe, send us help. Send us salvation. We will give anything, share anything, to save our children from the darkness that comes. The message pulsed out from New Harmony, riding quantum waves. Across the galaxy, it carried with it the combined hope and terror of an entire species facing extinction. 3 days' travel away, the human exploration ship U.S. Frontier drifted between the stars. Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair, reading reports. From the latest survey mission, he was a big man with gray hair and scars on his hands from his years as a Marine. His crew was small but experienced. Lisa Park ran the engines. Connor Hayes handled security. Amy Rodriguez was their doctor, and Tyler Brooks managed communications. Tyler looked up from his console with a confused expression. "Captain, I'm picking up something weird. It's like a radio signal, but it's coming through quantum space." "Put it on speaker," Morrison said. The bridge filled with the sound of the Vidian prayer. The computer translated it into English, but even through the translation, they could hear the desperation in the alien voices. "Jesus," Connor muttered. "They're asking for help." Lisa Park pulled up star charts on the main screen. "I know this system. Kepler 4b. It's marked as inhabited by a pre-contact species, peaceful, no military technology." Amy Rodriguez was reading through the cultural files. "The reports say they're completely non-violent. They've never had a war in their recorded history." Tyler traced the signal back to its source. The message is 3 days old, but it's on a loop. They're still broadcasting. Morrison studied the data. According to their files, the Corach Empire was a collection of aggressive species that had been expanding through this sector for decades. They didn't negotiate. They didn't show mercy. They took what they wanted and destroyed anything that stood in their way. "How long would it take us to reach their system?" Morrison asked. Lisa Park ran the calculations. 4 days at maximum burn. "But Captain, the Corach fleet will probably get there first, and we're just one ship." Morrison was quiet for a long moment. The U.S. Frontier was an exploration vessel, not a warship. They had defensive weapons and shields, but they were no match for an entire Corach fleet. Going there would probably mean death for all of them. But he kept thinking about the voices in that message, the fear, the hope, the way they had called out to anyone who might be listening. "Connor, what do you think?" Morrison asked his security chief. Connor Hayes had been a soldier most of his life. He knew the odds better than anyone. "It's suicide, Captain. One ship against a fleet." He paused, then added, "But they didn't ask for an army. They asked for help." Amy Rodriguez looked up from the cultural files. "These people have never hurt anyone. They don't even have a word for murder in their language." Tyler Brooks turned. "From his station, the signal is getting weaker. I think they're running out of power." Morrison made his decision. "Lisa, plot a course for Kepler 4b. Maximum burn, Captain." Lisa said carefully, "What exactly are we going to do when we get there?" Morrison stood up and walked to the view screen, looking out at the stars. "We're going to answer their prayer. It's maybe not the way they expected, but it's the best we can do." The U.S. Frontier changed course, its engines burning bright as it raced toward a distant world where millions of peaceful beings waited for salvation that might never come. The EU's Frontier dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. Captain Morrison stood on the bridge, watching the beautiful blue-green world spinning slowly on the main screen. Even from this distance, he could see the crystal, cities glowing like jewels against the planet's surface. "It's beautiful," Amy Rodriguez whispered. "Yeah," Connor Hayes agreed. "Too bad we're probably going to die here." Tyler Brooks was busy scanning the system with every sensor they had. "No sign of the Corach fleet yet, Captain. But I'm picking up massive energy readings from the planet. These people have serious technology." Lisa Park was studying the ship's systems. "We've got full fuel and ammunition, but that won't matter much against 47 warships. We need to be smart about this." Morrison nodded. "Tyler, open a channel to the planet. Let them know we're here." The communication came through. Almost instantly. The main screen filled with the image of a tall, graceful being with translucent skin and forearms. Her bioelectric crown pulsed with gentle blue light. "I am Elder Zeranin of New Harmony," she said, through the computer's translation system. "Are you the answer to our prayers?" Morrison looked at his small crew, then back at the alien leader. "Ma'am, I'm Captain Jake Morrison of the human ship UES Frontier. We received your message and came as fast as we could." Zeranin's skin flickered with colors that Morrison guessed meant confusion. "Humans? I do not know this species. Are you from the Galactic Council? Do you bring a great fleet to protect us?" "No, ma'am," Morrison said honestly. "We're explorers. From a world called Earth. This is our only ship, and we have a crew of 5. The colors on Zeranin's skin shifted to what looked like despair. 5. Only 5 beings to stand against the Corach Empire. Connor Hayes stepped forward. "What exactly are you dealing with here? How much time do we have?" Another Vidian appeared on the screen, younger than Zeran, with faster color changes on her skin. "I am Jin 7, scout leader of New Harmony. Our sensors show the Corach fleet will arrive in 4 planetary cycles. They have 47 ships, each carrying thousands of warriors." Lisa Park whistled low. "That's at least 100,000 soldiers." "More," Jin 7 said sadly. "And we have no weapons, no military, no way to fight them. We grow food and heal the sick and study the stars. We have never hurt another living being." Morrison felt something cold settle in his stomach. These people were completely helpless. They were like children facing a pack of wolves. "Request permission to come down to the planet," Morrison said. "We need to see what we're working with." An hour later, the shuttle from the EU's Frontier landed in the main square of New Harmony. Morrison and his crew stepped out into a world that took their breath away. The city floated above a crystal lake, held up by some kind of energy field. Gardens drifted between the towers like islands in the sky, connected by bridges made of pure light. The air smelled like flowers and clean water. Everything glowed with soft, natural light. "It's like a fairy tale," Amy Rodriguez said softly. "Hundreds." Oh, Vidians had gathered to meet them. They were all tall and thin, moving with that same graceful flow Morrison had seen on the screen. Their skin changed colors constantly, showing their emotions. Right now, most of them were showing fear and hope mixed together. Zara-9 approached with Jin 7 and several other Vidians. "Welcome to our world, humans. We are grateful you have come, but I fear 5 warriors cannot stand against the Corach Empire." "We're not warriors," Morrison said. "Well, Connor and I used to be soldiers, but we're explorers now. Lisa keeps our ship running, Amy is our doctor, and Tyler handles communications." The Vidians looked confused. Jin 7 spoke up. "If you are not warriors, how can you help us fight?" Connor Hayes looked around at the peaceful city, then back at the aliens. "Ma'am, where we come from, everyone learns to fight. Our world is dangerous. We had to learn to survive." "Your world is dangerous?" Zeranin asked. "What kind of dangers?" Amy Rodriguez pulled out her medical scanner and showed it to the Vidians. "Predators that hunt us. Diseases that kill us. Whether that can destroy cities. Other humans who want what we have." The Vidians stepped back in shock. Their skin flickered with colors Morrison was starting to recognize as horror. "Your own species fights against itself?" Jin 7 asked. In amazement, sometimes Morrison admitted, "We call our world a death world. Everything there is trying to kill you, so you either learn to fight back or you die." Lisa Park was examining the crystal structures around them. "But you people have incredible technology. These energy fields, the floating buildings, the quantum communicator we heard. You're way more advanced than us." Zerani gestured to the beautiful city around them. "You've learned to work with energy and matter. Yes, we can grow crystal structures and manipulate light. We can heal most injuries and diseases. We can speak across the galaxy. But you've never weaponized any of it," Connor realized. "We do not understand this word," Jin 7 said. Connor thought for a moment. "You've never turned your tools into weapons. You've never used your technology to hurt people." The Vidian's skin went pale. Why would we do such a thing? Zeranin asked. Brooks was setting up his communication equipment. Because sometimes, if you don't hurt the bad guys, they hurt the good guys. An elderly Vidian stepped forward. His crown was larger than the others, pulsing with deep blue light. I am Keeper Nelfor, guardian of our historical records. Our entire history, no Vidian has ever deliberately harmed another living being. It is not in our nature. Amy Rodriguez was scanning the Vidians with her medical equipment. Captain, you need to see this. Their biology is fascinating. They have natural electromagnetic fields, enhanced reflexes, and some kind of neural network that lets them share thoughts. Morrison studied the readings. You mean they can read each other's minds? More than that, Amy said excitedly. Can share experiences, coordinate actions, even feel each other's emotions. It's like they're all connected. Lisa Park was still examining the crystal technology. This stuff is incredible. It's like they can program matter at the molecular level. They don't build things, they grow them. Connor Hayes was thinking like a soldier. If we could turn that crystal tech into weapons and use their mental network for coordination. We cannot create instruments of death, Zeranin said firmly. It goes against everything we are. Morrison looked at his crew, then back at the Vidians. An idea was forming in his mind. What if we're not creating instruments of death? What if we're creating instruments of protection? Jin 7 tilted her head. I do not understand the difference. A weapon meant to kill is different from a weapon meant to defend, Morrison explained. One is about taking life, the other is about protecting it. Keeper Nelfor considered this. You speak of using force to prevent greater force. Exactly, Connor said. Sometimes you have to fight to protect the people you love. The Vidians began to flicker with new colors, ones Morrison hadn't seen before. He hoped they meant they were thinking about it. Zara-9 was quiet for a long moment, her bioelectric crown pulsing as she communicated with Vidians across the planet. Finally, she spoke. Our quantum beacon has shown us glimpses of other worlds the Corach have conquered. We have seen the slave camps, the destroyed cities, the suffering of billions. If we do nothing, our children will face that fate. Jin 7 stepped forward. What would you have us do? Morrison looked around at the beautiful, peaceful city. We have 4 days to turn a paradise into a fortress. Can't make you into killers. But maybe we can teach you to be guardians. Lisa Park was already pulling up schematics on her tablet. Your crystal technology could be modified to create energy barriers, defensive fields, ... and weapons, Connor added. Non-lethal at first, but effective. Amy Rodriguez was studying the Vidian physiology data, their enhanced reflexes. A neural network, they could coordinate better than any army we've ever seen. Tyler Brooks finished setting up his equipment, and I can link their communication system to our tactical computers. Give them real-time information about enemy movements. Zeranin looked at her people, then back at the humans. You would teach us to fight? We'd teach you to protect yourselves, Morrison corrected. There's a difference. The elder Vidian was quiet for another long moment. At around the square, hundreds of her people waited for her decision. Their skin showed fear, hope, and determination all mixed together. Very well, she said finally. Show us how to save our world. The first day of training began before the twin sons of Kepler 44 to be had fully risen. Morrison divided his small crew across the planet, each taking charge of a different aspect of the defense preparations. They had 3 days left before the Corach's fleet arrived, and everything depended on how quickly the Vidians could learn. Lisa Park stood in the main, its crystal laboratory with 50 Vidian engineers. The room hummed with energy as massive crystals grew from floor to ceiling, pulsing with soft light. The Vidians watched her with curious expressions as she examined their technology. This is amazing, Lisa said, running her hands over a crystal formation that was growing right before her eyes. You don't build things, you just tell the crystals what you want them to become. Healer Vex 2, the chief engineer, nodded proudly. We sing to the crystals. They listen and grow into the shapes we need. We have done this for thousands of years to create our cities, our tools, our art. Lisa pulled out her tablet and showed them energy weapon schematics from human military databases. Can you make the crystals grow into these shapes? The Vidians gathered around the tablet, their skin flickering with interest and concern. These patterns would focus energy into harmful beams, Vex2 observed. We have never made crystals that could hurt anyone. Think of it differently, Lisa suggested. You make crystals that heal people, right? These crystals would heal your world by removing the disease that's coming to infect it. The engineers looked at each other, their bioelectric fields crackling. With shared communication, finally Vex2 placed her 4 hands on a small crystal seed. She began to hum, a low sound that seemed to come from deep in her chest. The crystal began to change. Instead of growing into the usual flowing, organic shape, it formed angular surfaces and focusing lenses. Within an hour, they had created something that looked remarkably like Lisa's energy weapon design. It works, Vex2 said in amazement. But it feels wrong to create such things. Lisa tested the crystal with her equipment. This could punch through Corach armor like it was paper, and you can grow hundreds of them. Meanwhile, across the city, Connor Hayes faced his own challenge. He stood in a wide crystal plaza with 200 young Vidians who had volunteered to learn combat. Jin 7 was among them, her skin showing determined colors despite her obvious fear. Okay, first lesson, Connor said. Forget everything you know about moving. On your world, you can walk anywhere safely. You can stand in the open without worry. Against the Corach, doing that will get you killed in seconds, he demonstrated. By crouching behind a crystal formation, cover. Always move from cover to cover. Never expose yourself longer than you have to. The Vidians tried to copy his movements, but they looked awkward and uncomfortable. Their natural grace was designed for open spaces and peaceful activities, not for hiding and sneaking. This feels wrong, one young Vidian said. We are not meant to skulk and hide. You're not hiding, Connor explained. You're being smart. The Corach are bigger and stronger than you, so you use your advantages: speed, intelligence, and coordination. Jin 7 raised one of her 4 arms. What advantages do we have over the Corach? Connor smiled grimly. You can talk to each other instantly without making a sound. You're faster than they are, and your energy weapons will be better than theirs. But only if you're smart about how you use them. He set up a training course using crystal barriers. Practice moving from point to point without being seen. Use your mental link to coordinate. When one of you moves, the others cover them. At first, the Vidians were clumsy and uncertain. But as the hours passed, something remarkable happened. Their natural ability to share thoughts made them incredibly good at working together. Soon they were moving like parts of a single organism, each one knowing exactly where the others were going. In the medical center, Amy Rodriguez was discovering the unique aspects of Vidian biology. She worked with their healers to understand how their bodies worked and how to keep them alive in combat. Your nervous system is incredible, Amy, told elder healer Kesset. You can regenerate damaged tissue faster than any species I've studied, and your electromagnetic fields give you enhanced reflexes. Kesset was examining Amy's medical equipment with fascination. Your healing tools are very different from ours. They use mechanical and chemical processes instead of energy manipulation. Amy showed her how to use human battlefield medicine techniques. Sometimes in combat, you need to stop bleeding or stabilize someone quickly. Your energy healing is amazing, but it takes time. These techniques are faster for emergencies. The Vidian healers learned quickly, their 4 arms making them incredibly efficient at complex medical procedures. Amy realized that a Vidian medic could treat patients faster and more effectively than any human doctor. You're going to save a lot of lives, Amy told them, high in the central spire. Tyler Brooks was working with the communication specialists to turn the Vidian neural network into a tactical advantage. The room was filled with quantum communicators and bioelectric amplifiers that could boost the natural telepathic abilities of the Vidians. With this system, every defender on the planet can share information instantly. Tyler explained to Communication Master Yell 5, if someone spots Corach troops landing in the southern hemisphere. Everyone in the northern hemisphere will know about it immediately. Yelfiv was connecting her bioelectric crown to the amplifier system. This will allow us to coordinate actions across the entire planet. No army has ever faced defenders who could think as one mind. Tyler ran tests on the system, amazed by what he saw. The response time is incredible. From observation to action in less than a second. The Corach won't know what hit them. As the second day began, the transformation of New Harmony was becoming visible. Crystal weapons grew like flowers in the workshops. Young Vidians practiced combat movements in every plaza. Medical stations sprouted throughout the city, ready to treat wounded defenders. Morrison moved between the different training areas, checking on progress and solving problems. He found Lisa in the weapons workshop, where hundreds of crystal energy rifles were now ready for use. "These are better than anything we have on the frontier," Lisa reported. "They're more accurate, more powerful, and they never run out of ammunition as long as there's energy to feed them." Morrison tested one of the weapons. The crystal felt warm in his hands, almost alive. When he aimed and fired, a brilliant blue beam lanced out and vaporized a metal target. "The Vidians are natural engineers," Lisa continued. "Once they understood what we needed, they improved on our designs. These weapons are works of art that happen to be deadly." Morrison found Connor in the training plaza, where the Vidian fighters were now moving with deadly efficiency. They flowed around obstacles like water, always in perfect coordination, their movements silent and precise. "They're not soldiers," Connor admitted, "but there's something else, something the Corach have never faced before. They fight like a single organism with hundreds of bodies." Jin 7 approached them, carrying one of the new crystal weapons. Her skin showed colors. Morrison was learning to recognize his confidence mixed with determination. "Teacher Connor," she said, "we are ready to defend our families." Morrison watched as she demonstrated the combat techniques Connor had taught her. She moved from cover to cover, used hand signals to coordinate with other defenders, and fired the crystal weapon with deadly accuracy. But there was something different about her movements, something uniquely Vidian. "You're not just copying our tactics," Morrison realized. "You're creating your own." Jin 7 nodded. "We learned from your teachings, but we adapted them to our nature. We cannot be human warriors, but we can be Vidian guardians." By the end of the second day, Morrison gathered his crew for a status report. They met in the central spire as the twin suns set behind the crystal city. "Weapons production is ahead of schedule," Lisa reported. "We'll have enough crystal rifles for every defender, plus fixed emplacements around the major cities." "The fighters are ready," Connor added. "They're not conventional soldiers, but they'll be effective. Maybe more effective than conventional." "Soldiers." Amy looked at her medical data. "The hospital system is prepared for mass casualties. The Vidian healers have learned human emergency medicine, and I've learned their energy healing techniques." Tyler showed them the communication display. "The planet-wide tactical network is online. Every defender is connected to every other defender. The Corach will be fighting a planet that thinks with one mind." Morrison looked out at the beautiful city, now bristling with defensive positions and armed with crystal weapons. In 2 days, the Vidians had transformed from helpless victims into determined guardians. "There's something else," Morrison said. Thoughtfully, "We came here thinking we'd teach them to fight like humans. Instead, they've learned to fight like Vidians. They've created something new." Zaranine entered the chamber, her bioelectric crown pulsing with steady light. "Captain Morrison, our quantum sensors detect the Corach fleet approaching the edge of our system. They will be here tomorrow." Morrison nodded grimly. "Then tomorrow we find out if Paradise can defend itself." Outside, the crystal city glowed in the darkness, beautiful and deadly, ready for war. The Corach warfleet dropped out of hyperspace like a swarm of metal locusts. 47 massive ships, each one the size of a human city, formed a battle line around Kepler 44b. Their hulls were dark gray and covered with weapon ports that glowed with angry red light. Admiral Vexkarn stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking down at the beautiful blue world below. his scaled lips pulled back in what might have been a smile, showing rows of sharp teeth. Behind him, his officers prepared for what should be the easiest conquest in Corthok history. "Send the surrender demand," Vexkarn ordered. His voice was like grinding stone, the message broadcast across all frequencies to the planet below. The hologram of the massive Corthok admiral appeared in every crystal plaza on New Harmony, his black eyes glittering with cruel satisfaction. "Vidians of Kepler-4 for to be. I am Admiral Vexkarn. Your time of preparation is over. Yes. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. Resist, and we will make your suffering last for generations." The hologram flickered and died. Silence fell over New Harmony for a moment. Then Captain Morrison's voice came through the planetary communication system. He was aboard the UES Frontier, which looked tiny compared to the Corthok warship surrounding it. "Admiral Vexkarn, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the human vessel US Frontier. This world is under our protection. You have one chance to withdraw peacefully." The response from the Corthok flagship was immediate. Vexkarn's laughter boomed across space, a sound like breaking rocks. "One small ship? 5 creatures against my entire fleet? Your species must be even more stupid than they are weak?" Morrison's. Her reply was calm and steady. "Admiral, you're about to learn something important about humans. We don't know when to quit." Vexkarn's amusement faded. "Destroy the human ship. Then begin the invasion." The massive Corthok vessels opened fire. Plasma beams and particle cannons lit up space like deadly fireworks. But the UES Frontier was already moving, diving toward the planet's surface at full speed. Morrison had learned space combat fighting pirates in the outer systems. He used every trick he knew, weaving between the plasma beams and using the planet's magnetic field to scramble the Corthok targeting systems. "Lisa, I need everything the engines can give me," Morrison called out. "You've got it, Captain," Lisa Park replied from the engine room. The Frontier's drives burned white-hot as the small ship danced between the much larger and Corthok vessels. One of the enemy ships tried to intercept them, firing a spread of missiles. Connor Hayes was ready at the weapons console. The Frontier's defensive lasers picked off the missiles one by one, their explosions lighting up the darkness. "They're not used to fighting something this small and fast," Connor observed. "Their weapons are designed for big fleet battles." The Frontier reached the planet's atmosphere and dove toward the surface. Behind them, the first wave of Corthok invasion shuttles launched from the fleet, hundreds of them, each carrying 50 armored warriors dotting the crystal cities below. The Vidians watched the sky fill with enemy ships.
Ow!
Their skin flickered with fear, but also with determination. They had spent 3 days learning to fight, and now it was time to see if their teachers had prepared them well enough. Jin-7 stood with her squad of 20 Vidian fighters in the crystal caves outside New Harmony. Each of them carried one of the new crystal energy rifles, and their bioelectric crowns were connected to the planetary communication network. Through the network, she could feel the thoughts and emotions of every defender on the planet. Thousands of minds linked together, all focused on the same goal: protect their families and their world. The first Corthok shuttles landed in the farming valleys outside the cities. The ramps dropped, and massive armored figures poured out. Each Corthok warrior was twice the height of a Vidian, carrying plasma rifles and wearing thick battle armor. Assault leader Grek-9 led the first wave. He had conquered a dozen worlds for the Empire, and he expected this one to fall within hours. The intelligence reports said the Vidians were peaceful farmers with no military experience. Spread out and advance on the cities, Grek-9 ordered his troops. "Kill any who resist. Capture the rest for the slave camps." The Corthok warriors began their march toward New Harmony. Their heavy boots crushed the crystal flowers that grew along the path, and their weapons charged with deadly energy. They never saw the first attack coming. Jin-7 and her squad were hidden in crystal formations that looked like natural rock. The Vidians had learned to use their environment, turning their beautiful world into a weapon against the invaders. The first Corthok to die never knew what hit him. A brilliant blue beam from Jin 7's crystal rifle punched through his armor, like it was made of paper. The warrior toppled backward, smoke rising from the hole in his chest. All around the valley, more crystal weapons fired. The Vidians had positioned themselves perfectly, using Connor Hayes' teachings about crossfire and cover. 20 Corach warriors fell in the first few seconds. Grek 9 roared in surprise and anger. "Return fire! Where are they shooting from?" But the Vidians were already moving. They flowed from one hiding place to another like ghosts, never staying in one spot long enough for the enemy to target them. Their mental link allowed them to coordinate without words, each fighter knowing exactly where the others were going. More Corach fell. Their heavy armor, designed to stop conventional energy weapons, was useless against the focused power of the crystal rifles. The Vidians were not just matching their enemies, they were winning in space above the planet. Morrison was leading the Corach fleet on a deadly chase. The UES frontier wove between the massive enemy ships, striking at weak points and then vanishing before return fire could find them. Tyler jammed their communications. Morrison ordered, "Lisa, give me a torpedo spread on that command ship." Frontier's weapons lanced out, striking the Corach flagship's sensor array. Admiral Vexkarn's bridge shook from the impact, and his tactical displays went dark. "How is one small ship doing this?" Vexkarn demanded. His weapons officer looked confused. "Admiral, they fight unlike any species we have encountered. They do not follow standard tactical doctrine." On the planet's surface, more Corach landing zones came under attack. The Vidians struck from crystal caves, from floating platforms, from underground tunnels that connected their cities. Every time the enemy thought they had found the defenders, the Vidians were somewhere else. Amy Rodriguez was coordinating the medical response from her station in New Harmony. The bioelectric network allowed her to monitor the health of every Vidian fighter in real time. "Healer team to Sector 7, she called out. "Out!" Jin 7's squad has 2 wounded. The Vidian medical teams moved like lightning, reaching injured fighters within minutes. Amy watched in amazement as they used both human emergency techniques and their own energy healing to save lives that would have been lost in any other battle. Connor Hayes was moving between combat zones, helping coordinate the defense. He found himself in the southern crystal fields where a large Corach force was trying to break through to the cities. "They're adapting to our tactics," he reported to Morrison over the communication network. "The enemy is learning to expect ambushes." "Then we change tactics again," Morrison replied. "That's what humans do best." Connor grinned and turned to a group of Vidian fighters nearby. "Time for lesson 2. When the enemy adapts to your plan, make a new plan."
Ow.
The battle raged. Through the day, in space, the UES frontier continued its impossible dance around the Corach fleet, striking and running, never giving the enemy a chance to use their superior firepower effectively. On the ground, the Vidians fought like nothing the Corach had ever faced. They were not soldiers in the traditional sense, but something new and deadly. They combined human tactical thinking with their own natural abilities to create a style of warfare that confused and frustrated their enemies. As the twin suns began to set, Admiral Vexkarn realized something that shook him to his core. His invasion was failing. For the first time in his long career, he was losing a battle. "Status report," he demanded. His tactical officer looked pale. "Admiral, we have lost 30% of our ground forces. The enemy casualties are minimal, and that human ship has damaged 6 of our vessels." Vexkarn stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The peaceful farming world was fighting back and winning. On the surface, Jinsavan crouched behind a crystal formation, reloading her weapon. Around her, the bodies of Corach warriors lay scattered across the valley. Her squad had held there, positioned all day, and the enemy advance had stopped through the bioelectric network. She could feel the emotions of defenders across the planet. Fear was there, but it was overwhelmed by something stronger. Pride, determination, the knowledge that they were protecting everything they loved. "We are not the same people who prayed for salvation 3 days ago," she said to her squad. We have become the salvation we prayed for. In the crystal cities, the Vidians who could not fight tended the wounded and kept the defensive systems running. Children who had never seen violence helped their parents prepare ammunition and supplies. Elders who had lived in peace for centuries now coordinated military operations. The second day of battle dawned with explosions lighting up the sky above New Harmony. The Corach fleet had moved closer to the planet, their massive guns bombarding the crystal cities from orbit. But even as buildings shattered and towers fell, the Vidians fought back with a fury that surprised everyone, including themselves. Admiral Vexkarn stood on his flagship's bridge, his scaled face twisted with rage. Half his ground forces were dead or wounded, and the human ship was still dancing through his fleet like a ghost. This was supposed to be a simple conquest, not a real war. "Bring all ships to bombardment range," he ordered. "If we cannot take this world intact, we will destroy it completely." Captain Morrison heard the order through Tyler's communication intercepts. The UES Frontier was running low on ammunition and fuel, and his small ship could not stop 47 enemy vessels from reducing the planet to ash. "Lisa, how much power do we have left?" Morrison asked. "Maybe 6 hours at full burn," Lisa Park replied from the engine room. "After that, we're dead in space." Morrison looked at the tactical display. The Corach ships were forming up for a final bombardment that would kill millions of Vidians. He had to do something. But what could one small ship accomplish? Then Tyler Brooks spoke up from his communication station. "Captain, I'm getting a signal from Elder 09. She says they have a plan." The main screen filled with the image of the Vidian leader. Her bioelectric crown was pulsing faster than Morrison had ever seen, and her translucent skin showed colors of determination mixed with desperate hope. "Captain Morrison," she said, "our scientists have been working with your engineer, Lisa Park. They believe they can modify our quantum beacon to create a weapon that will disable the Corach fleet." Morrison felt a spark of hope. "Kinda. Weapon. The beacon can send quantum signals across the galaxy," 09 explained. "If we modify it correctly, we can send a signal that disrupts the neural networks of all Corach within range. It will not kill them, but it will make them unconscious." Lisa Park's voice came through the ship's communication system. "Captain, I've been working with their quantum engineers. The theory is sound, but someone has to manually activate the device from inside the enemy flagship. The quantum field won't penetrate their shielding from the outside." Morrison understood immediately. It was a suicide mission. Someone would have to board the Corach flagship, fight their way to the right location, and activate a device that would likely kill them in the process. "I'll do it," Connor Hayes said without hesitation. "No," came another voice. Jin 7 appeared on the communication screen next to 09. "Da da 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 da. Da 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 I will go. "You don't understand," Connor protested. "It's a one-way trip. The quantum field will probably kill whoever activates it." Jin 7's skin flickered with the colors Morrison now recognized as stubborn courage. "Teacher Connor, you showed us how to fight for our families. Now let us fight beside you." Before anyone could argue further, more Vidian fighters appeared on the screen. 20 of the best warriors Jin 7 had trained. It's all volunteering for the mission. Morrison felt something tight in his chest. These people had been peaceful farmers 3 days ago. Now they were ready to die to save their world. "All right," he said finally, "but we do this together. Connor, take Jin 7 and her team. I'll get you to the enemy flagship. Amy Rodriguez was monitoring the bioelectric network from her medical station. Captain, the quantum device will affect everyone. Within a 50-kilometer radius, that includes our people. We know, Jin 7 said calmly. We are willing to make this sacrifice.
No.
The plan came together quickly. The Use Frontier would make a suicide run at the Corach flagship. Using every trick Morrison knew to get close enough to deploy a boarding shuttle, Connor and the Vidian volunteers would fight their way to the ship's central computer core and activate the modified quantum beacon. Meanwhile, on the planet's surface, the remaining Vidian defenders prepared for a final stand. If the mission failed, they would fight until the last crystal rifle fell silent. Lisa. Park worked frantically with the Vidian engineers to complete the quantum device. It was a beautiful thing, a crystal formation that pulsed with rainbow light, but Morrison knew it was also one of the most dangerous weapons ever created. The device is ready, Lisa reported. But Captain, the quantum field it generates... We don't really know what it will do to human neural systems. It's only one way to find out, Morrison said grimly. The UES Frontier began its final approach to the Corach flagship. Around them, enemy ships opened fire with everything they had. Small human vessels shook and sparked as plasma beams tore through its hull. Hull breach on Deck 3, Lisa called out. We're losing atmosphere. Tyler jammed their targeting systems, Morrison ordered. Connor, get your team ready. In the shuttle bay, Connor Hayes checked his weapons one last time. Around him, 20 Vidian fighters prepared for battle. They looked strange in human combat armor, their forearms making them move differently than any soldiers Connor had ever seen. Remember, Connor told them, we move fast, we hit hard, and we don't stop. Until the mission is complete. Gin 7 activated her bioelectric crown, linking her mind to the other Vidians. We are ready, Teacher Connor. The UES Frontier punched through the Corach defensive line, taking massive damage but still flying.
Oh.
Morrison pushed the ship, harder than it had ever been pushed, racing toward the enemy flagship as explosions bloomed around them. Launching shuttle in 3, 2, 1, Morrison announced. The boarding shuttle shot out of the Frontier's bay like a bullet, carrying Connor and the Vidian strike team toward their target. Behind them, the UES Frontier continued its desperate dance with death, drawing enemy fire away from the shuttle. The shuttle slammed into the Corach flagship's docking bay, its armored hull smashing through the bay doors. Connor and the Vidians poured out, their crystal weapons firing at the Corach warriors who rushed to meet them. The fight was brutal and desperate. The Corach were bigger and stronger, but the Vidians were faster and better coordinated. Their bioelectric link allowed them to work together perfectly. While Connor's human tactical knowledge kept them moving toward their objective, they fought through corridor after corridor, leaving dead Corach behind them. Jin 7 moved like a deadly dancer, her crystal rifle finding target after target. Her skin glowed with fierce determination as she led her people deeper into the enemy ship. Finally, they reached the central computer core. It was a massive chamber filled with processing units and control systems. Connor placed the quantum device in the center of the room while the Vidians held off wave after wave of enemy reinforcements. Activating in 30 seconds, Connor called out. Jin 7 and her fighters formed a defensive circle around him, their weapons cutting down any Corach who tried to stop them. Through their mental link, she could feel their fear and their courage mixing together. It has been an honor to fight beside you, Teacher Connor, she said. The honor was mine, Connor replied, his hand on the activation switch. The quantum device pulsed once, twice, then exploded into brilliant rainbow light. The quantum field spread outward at the speed of light, washing over the Corach flagship and then the entire fleet. Admiral Vex Karn felt the field hit him like a physical blow. His vision blurred, his thoughts scattered, and then everything went dark. Throughout the Corach fleet, thousands of warriors collapsed as their neural systems shut down. The massive warships drifted powerless in space, their crews unconscious and dreaming. On the planet's surface, the Vidians watched in amazement as the bombardment stopped. The enemy ships hung motionless above their world, It's no longer a threat. Morrison guided the damaged Use Frontier back to New Harmony's main spaceport. As he stepped out of his ship, he was surrounded by hundreds of Vidians. Their skin glowed. With colors of joy and gratitude, Elder Zaranine approached him, her bioelectric crown pulsing with gentle light. "Captain Morrison, we have received word from our strike team. Connor Hayes and 15 of our fighters survived the quantum pulse. They are unconscious, but alive." Morrison felt relief flood through him, and the Corach fleet, completely disabled, Zaranine reported. "Our ships are moving to secure their vessels. The warriors will wake in a few hours, but they will be prisoners, not conquerors." Jin 7 appeared on a stretcher, carried by Vidian medical teams. Her skin was pale, but alive with triumphant colors. When she saw Morrison, she managed a weak smile. "We did it, Teacher Morrison," she said. "We saved our world." Morrison knelt beside her stretcher. "No, Jin 7, you saved yourselves. We just showed you how." In the days that followed, the Corach prisoners were taken to secure facilities. Kern, when he finally woke up, found himself facing creatures he no longer recognized. The gentle Vidians were still there, but they had been joined by something new, Vidian guardians, who would never again allow their world to be threatened. The story of the battle spread across the galaxy through the quantum beacon network. Other peaceful species heard how the Vidians had learned to defend themselves without losing their essential nature. Many sent messages asking for the same teachers who had shown New Harmony how to turn paradise into a fortress.